Hello and welcome back to Loud and Proud Orlando. Another Thursday night bonus episode for you guys. Maybe the last one for a while because if you're smart, you figured out we've been doing two a week because we've been having Champions League games in the week. But sadly, that will be no more Champions League for us. Do the sad trombone. Yeah. 4-2 loss to Tigres. Luis, your opening thoughts on our exit from the Champions League.
Well, Tigres is a powerhouse. Tigres is a top five Mexican Liga MX team, probably top three best team in North America. So clearly, we were not expecting for Orlando to look so down and out. We expected them to have a little bite to them, a little bit of a personality that never came over, only until they got the red card, and then Orlando started kind of getting a little bit of momentum. But it was a great win by Tigres. We pretty much they 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 beat us fair and square. Beautiful stadium, beautiful atmosphere. Their fans are starting to believe again, and Orlando City fans, especially some of the Facebook people, you know what I mean, they're starting to not believe, and some of guys, we're not Real Madrid, we're not Barcelona, we're not Chelsea, we're nowhere near. I guarantee you, if you will hear a Liverpool fan or a West Ham fan, they will never say some of the stuff I've been reading, which is crazy. But other than that, I think it's a long season. Now we could focus on the MLS. We have the squad to do it, and we just gotta move forward, and go from there. That's my attitude. I think we still have a way to compete for the MLS, to be a contender in the East.
Definitely. I mean, it's early days in MLS. Hasn't been the start that we hoped, but our Champions League run is over. Once again, we're out to Tigres. I think that kind of hurts more than anything. But I agree, Luis. We weren't the better team. We probably deserve to lose that game. Paula, your general thoughts on the sad 4-2 loss to Tigres?
I mean, do you know why it's so tough, this loss? Because we were saving every power to win this game.
Yeah.
That's the reality. And I think a lot of Orlando fans, including myself, but not that, like you guys said, we're in the beginning of the season. We only played 3 games in the MLS league. Only 3. It feels like it's a lot because, Calvary and then Tigres, but it's sad because we save all the power. And I said it in the last pod. We need to score first, because if we not score first, even though that we got that penalty, it's hard to come back. And we saw it on Tuesday night. It's sad because a lot of the squad has been here since last season. And this is what happens when you start with a lot of expectations from a team that, ended.
It's my own fault. I got my hopes
No,
up.
no, and no, I'm blaming it on the MLS
No, we
analyst
all. I
juju.
agree. There was a certain amount of hype that is
Exactly.
dying already.
So I think I think that's why we're so mad. We risk 9 points already. Well, 8, because we have 1 point in the league, just to save for Tigres, and we didn't make it. Again, Tigres, congrats. Figure it out and see if you can be the champs. I don't think so, because Pachuca is coming hard. But
Pachuca looks
I'm
good.
Pachuca looks very, very good. I don't know if Philly was like
Yeah.
not having it, but
I would watching that Philly Pachuca game and watching Philly just get destroyed. I was like, don't let that happen to us. And I don't think it was as bad for us, but
No, it
it
wasn't.
was.
Thank God, no.
We showed a better showing than that, but it still wasn't great from us. So Thanks to everybody who's joining live at the moment. We're about 20 people on Twitter and about 10 people on YouTube. So drop your comments. We will get to you and read them out. Thank you so much for being here on Thursday night with us. We're going to talk a little bit more about Tigres, and then we're going to get into Atlanta. We've got Connor coming on from the Designated Players to talk to us about Atlanta and everything that's going to be around that game on Sunday. But first, let's go deep dive into this Tigres loss. The lineup is a starting point. I think is pretty much the lineup that we predicted, right, guys?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. We were thinking maybe Ojeda or Ladero, but I think we settled on Ladero because of that Champions League difference. I don't think there's anything wrong with the lineup. I think Ladero has not played particularly well. Luis, do you have a thought on that?
No, I mean Lodero had an off game. To me, I feel like Lodero just they knew how to contain him. I think they figured it out. They watched film, and they knew that those three were gonna probably be the starters, and it was just a matter of knowing how to pace him and how to contain him. Great job at Gorriaran, in my opinion. Great job at Carioca, which eventually he played very dirty, and that's why he got the red. And they contained Nico Lodero, in my opinion. I think the football for Orlando City happened through Facundo Torres trying to, Robin Jansen making those crosses, trying to find Facu, trying to find somebody open. Honestly, a lot of people are expecting for Luis Muriel to be Erling Haaland, and obviously that's not going to pan out at the moment. He still needs to get used to, Orlando City, and Carl also had to get used to the system, right? So it's coming. It's just not there. I expect a little more by Ivan Angulo, but I will say this: we need to have a defensive mid makeover ASAP. Cesar Araujo is questionable. Was questionable. He didn't suit up, obviously because of the ankle injury, and Cartagena will be gone in this next game. And I didn't see anything from Wilder. I saw a lot of a little sloppy play, especially the beginning of the first half. And Felipe Martins, it just wasn't working, in my opinion. I mean, to the point that I feel like, yes, he was the man who, because of experience, went up and talked to the whole media over there in Mexico and all that good stuff. But I think for against Atlanta, we should see Giorgio Kuchevsky there, and maybe see another D mid duo, because without the D mid duo, we're screwed. I mean, we're I don't know if you're going to put Dagger Dan there.
Cesar and Wilder this year, the double pivot has not been working anyway. So we got to change the plan. I agree entirely, Luis. The mid was a similar continuation of what we saw in the Minnesota game. Just a lot of sloppy passing, a lot of just giving the ball away, miscommunication, not connecting through the midfield. It got better as the game went on. I think overall we grew into this game, started badly, and just slowly kind of got better. And, obviously they went down to 10 men. That helped a lot. But the midfield for me, like even Wilder was starting off really badly, giving away the ball. Felipe did not have a good game. Nico couldn't really do much of anything. And Dagger was having to, usually would come in and kind of help in that mid. He was having to spend the whole time chasing Flores around. So it just looked like we were lacking creative play, honestly, overall for me. Paula, do you have any thoughts on the midfield and what you think, we should do or who should kind of be, I'm assuming, next to Wilder?
I mean, let's try Dagger. Just put Dagger in the middle and play Holiday back into that position. Like, we are in not in a panic, mode, but who else? Like, yes, we have Giorgio, but right now he hasn't had time with the team. At least Dagger Dan has time with the team. Holiday has been having time with the team, and then you can sub and put Giorgio, not from the beginning. In the mid. Felipe Martins, I thought that he was gonna get a red at some point. I was like, dude, chill out. Because of the ref too. Like the ref was like, he didn't put the whistle aside.
The
It was
ref
always
loved the
whistling.
call.
Oh yeah, he was like playing Uno cards with everybody with those yellow cards, and then Felipe was like, I was confused. He was more in the wing. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're leaving Cartagena by himself. Cartagena was in another place, not in the mid, and then Felipe. He's in the wing. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Go back to your position. He was driving me nuts, and I think it was just they were desperate. They were not when the desperation came in. The last two goals went in for Tigres. They were in panic mode at that point. I think in my final opinion at this moment, put Dagger Dan in the middle, and I don't know. I put Giorgio in because Wilder's not. I forgot about Wilder's not being in the Sunday game.
Yeah, he's
Let's
not
see.
going
I
to
don't
be
know.
there this Sunday.
Look,
I was thinking more
knowing-
like overall going forward. With
Oh, going
Cesar
forward,
being out
Wilder and
long-term.
I will put Dagger there.
Yeah, I think that then raises the question about you take him out of right back. I think I put Kyle at right back and have Santos at left back.
Yeah.
I think you can have either Santos or Dagger. I think both of them, like we need Kyle in there somewhere, especially if we're going to shift into like the back three like we've seen, or Santos goes really high. Luis, you're going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, look, Tigres, they destroyed Dagger Dan.
He had a rough night against
Flores.
Yeah,
Flores,
he looked tired too.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, that kid Flores that destroyed Dagger Dan, and pretty much all Tigres goals came from that side. It's because that kid is from the Arsenal Academy, dude. So I mean, it's a complete different level of football that right there. We can't compare ourselves to an Arsenal. I know that we play against them and all that in a friendly. It's different when you are playing for something else. And you could tell that they studied Pareja's, people, and they did a great job to neutralize Dagger Dan. Now, do we have Flores's in the MLS? I don't think so. I think Dagger in the MLS could stay as a right back. I actually feel more comfortable him staying as a right back and have Kyle on the left if needed be, especially for Atlanta.
I think defensively, that's our best back four is Kyle on the left and Dagger at right back, and Brecalo.
Because if right now you start doing experiments with the back line, it could be an S show with Atlanta, even worse. They could carve us up by our, just to give you an example, our back line, 13 goals in all competitions last year. Out of those 13, 8 have been in the MLS. So that's just too many. We never expected this when we first started doing our preseason predictions and things like that. We thought we had a great back line. And also we never expected Pedro to be down in this form also. He gave up away a lot of balls. Right. And if we right now start putting Holiday and putting, other kids, I just feel like
I think
it
Holiday is definitely not the answer right now.
Yeah. So
I was going to ask you a little bit about Pedro Luis. I know it's obviously difficult for you because it sucks, I'm sure, to see a guy that you talk about all the time, your national team guy, go through. Right. It was a bad patch of form for him,
Yeah, it's already made news over there.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I think that first goal, I'm not super impressed with his attempt at that save. I know the ball bounces, but for me, that's not great. And then the last one, the Cordova shot, I think his positioning is a little bit off. So I think like mentally he's having some trouble, and that's coming out in his game. Would you agree that there's something going on with him, and how do you think Pedro can turn this around? Like, how does he get out of this funk that he seems to be in?
Well, he's a player that always before coming to. I mean, he boosted his career coming here, and I always say that in Peru, and I always get I always get crap because I say that. Cesar Baena, which is his goalkeeper coach, Orlando City goalkeeper coach, is the reason why Pedro Galese is so good. And I will repeat that again. Cesar Baena is the reason why he's so good. Now, I believe that, just like in any job, you could be very consistent and you're going to have some bad days at the office. But when it comes to Pedro, I think it escalates a little more because he's a goalkeeper. He's supposed to be, the savior and things like that, and our backline is really not delivering. I mean, our backline we probably have the worst defense in the MLS right now. And
Not great.
Right. I mean, we probably have the worst defense in the MLS right now. And
I don't know
clearly
about worse, but it's down there.
well, that comes with a lot of goals, right? And so who's to blame there? Obviously Pedro. Now, yeah, he had a lot to do with a couple of goals, in my opinion. I just think he needs to. That's what the club has, a psychologist. I think that's why the club has Oscar Pareja and his staff. They need to, help him out in this rough patch. It's the first rough patch he's ever had since he arrived to Orlando. His tenure in Orlando has been spot on. His tenure in Mexico was just like what we're seeing right now. So when he played in Tiburones Rojos, a horrible team in Mexico, he had this type of things and he was benched. He was benched and he was put on the freezer and to never look back. And then he was sold to the Peruvian team, Alianza Lima, and then he didn't do anything there. They lost the chance to go to the final, and then eventually he got into Orlando City. So he came as under the radar, but now he's a huge part of our team. I just feel he just needs also his team to pull weight. I think
I think that's to do with like definitely he's been exposed a lot, but in the past when he gets exposed like that, he's like been a guy that's been bailing us out. Like he did that a lot last year, and we can't expect him to do that all the time. I think it's just now he seems to be making mistakes more than making good saves. He did make one or two here. There was one that was like right at him, and he made like two quick saves, one and another in this game. But some of the simple things like his positioning or reading of the shot just needs to be a little bit better and is off, and that's leading, and that's not being helped by the fact that our backline is not playing well. It's all part of the same issue, but we just really want Pedro to turn it around. We'll talk a little bit later about Atlanta and who's going to be available, because there's some international call-ups coming up, and we'll have to see who's going to actually be available for Sunday and then going into next week. Paula, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Ojeda coming in and your thoughts on him. I know you were keen when we talked in the pod about getting him starting over Nico. I think he looked really good when he came on, and I know you were talking about that on Twitter.
Yeah, I was ranting. I had my rant moment in Twitter. I'm like, sit Nico and put Ojeda going forward. If you have noticed, every time that Ojeda comes in, every single forward, like the offensive line, looks better. Like we have more chances, and we have better possession of the ball. And I think, I don't know. He's a DP. He deserves to be in the lineup, right? And he got if I'm not mistaken, I think the second goal of Maguire, it was because of him in the Minnesota game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was a great pass by him. I know he got
or Muriel,
the goal in this
either
one.
or I don't remember.
The second penalty was
and
his.
The second penalty too. He scored. So overall, I think he deserves to start. Bring me Nico in the last 30 minutes or 20 minutes don't bring him up again. Let's see if he can rest up. I know they played a congested 2 weeks or 3 weeks of soccer. A lot of them are tired, but let's have Ojeda in there and he can switch up with Facu. Facu can go to the 10, he can go to the wing, or vice versa. I don't mind because we look better with Ojeda in as a number 10 or in the wing. So I don't know what Luis go with your thoughts. I don't know if you agree or not.
No,
Luis,
yeah.
what are you going to say on, is this on Ojeda?
No, I think Ojeda is doing fantastic. I think Ojeda should be a starter right now.
I agree.
I agree with Paola there.
I'd start him at the 10 for
And
sure.
that
over Nico.
was, in my opinion, I feel if you look at the age difference, that's what we. I mean, Nico is a
Nico
phenomenal.
looks slower than I had hoped.
No one discredits Nico as a player. I think he's a phenomenal player. I think he's
But
made
he's looking like
history.
Maori, though. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
But I think Nico is there to be that 1-2 punch, 60th minute. You're putting the game, you're holding off whatever team. You're winning like 2-1. You want to hold off the win. You put Nico in, and he'll get you a shot from distance. He'll get you a great cross. He'll get you a free kick. That's what you want to use Nico for, not to be your 10.
No,
Right.
and a lot of times Angulo was by himself in the wing and Nico was there. I'm like, shoot it to Angulo, and he didn't, and he should have to another side. I don't remember to who. I'm like, this is the chemistry that probably Ojeda has, and he knows where Angulo or Facu could be because Nico just got here. Yes, he's a veteran, but like Luis said, like he has a lot of miles in his legs versus Ojeda. So I would rather have Nico coming from the bench, less sealed the game, and move on.
And definitely not in D mid for me. Luis, can you read some comments?
Yeah,
here?
we're gonna read some comments. Daniel Phillips says, "I'm not sure if you talked about it. I'd love to know your thoughts on the Facu quote Alonso posted today. He said the group had a voice of rebellion. Did I miss something in translation? Yes. It was taking out of context. I do want to say, because I saw this on Facebook too, and I do want to say, guys, look, I know this is not good times. You guys are entitled to your opinion. You guys are entitled to be upset, but misconstruing something and speculate at this. We started almost the same way last year.
Are people speculating rebellion against
So they're speculating that the locker room's divided, and it's not.
It's
No,
not.
that's
I want to
mistranslation
say
entirely.
So Facu Torres says, we had a talk now in the locker room. Start from scratch. We're going to start from scratch because we came with some defeats. In the end, we came with some defeats. That in the end, nothing happened. So nothing happened after those defeats. They expected to have a personality boost, and nothing happened. That it was, that it was like loose. I don't know why he wrote it that way. That it was like loose and nothing happened. The group had a voice of rebellion, and hopefully things come. So the group are rebelling against themselves. To put it in a better context, they're going to play with personality and with an edge and with conviction against Atlanta. And that's exactly what also Felipe said.
He means like underdog. Like that's us. Exactly. We're the underdog.
Exactly.
We're the rebels, like the Rebel Alliance against the Empire.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean
they're not saying that they're going to rebel against Pareja.
No.
And I know a lot of people are like, it's like tickling their neck. Pareja. Right. I'm sure. But no, it's not that. It's not that, guys. They're rebelling against them being dead at the pitch. Right now he's right. Go ahead, John.
No, I agree. I think you're right. I think that's a missed kind of communication, and that's how quickly things can, people can start spreading like, oh, they're rebelling. And it's like, no, it's not. That's all going in.
No,
that's all like it's like a snowball effect. They just snowballs, and then the misinformation continues on and on. Let's read a few more comments, Luis.
The Schlegel should be sent to the local pickup league. There you go, my friend.
Poor
You should do.
Schlegel.
You should.
I
Bill
mean,
was
local pickup league's a little harsh, Bill.
Bill's
I
going to do
mean,
the tryout for.
I mean,
Orlando
yeah.
City.
He's not had a good start, that's for sure.
Gnocchi Mason will be coming in right because of call-ups. That's right.
I'm not sure about this weekend, but definitely when Peru go away. We'll have to talk about that when we get to Atlanta.
Yeah, Pedro may lose. Pedro's not going to play the Austin game.
Yeah, but he'll be here Sunday as well.
Neither Cartagena. Yeah, he's expected to leave to Peru on Monday.
Okay.
So that's
They're
from my
they're gonna
understanding.
play in Peru.
Yeah, they're gonna play in Peru against great competition, Dominican
Okay.
Republic
and-
and Nicaragua.
Luis is so
Well,
excited. That's
I'm super
that's
excited
easy
for
games
those
for
games.
Pedro, building his confidence up. This is
I was
great for
gonna
us. This is what we
say.
need.
That's what I'm
We need
saying.
Pedro to get a couple easy games, put the
No, but
saves in.
you guys don't understand what I've been through, man. I mean, everybody's like,
Luis.
"Oh, Inter Miami is the best team in Florida, man. Look at their form, and look at your form, bro." And then you gotta take it, man. Imagine
Yeah.
Well,
Mason,
hopefully Pedro goes to Peru, grab that traditional food,
yeah.
recharge and come
Yeah.
back.
I think that's
100%.
what he needs to do. And a lot of people are saying is the gloves. He just signed a new.
Oh yeah, the gloves.
Get
Go
rid of
back
those
to
gloves.
Adidas.
I'll ask Pedro take it to the church, man, so they can do some holy water on those gloves, bro.
Oh, for sure.
It says Muriel played strong. I agree. In the midfield, Holiday was terrible against Minnesota, says Bill. Correct. Holiday has no games, but we have to dig into youth players. 28 players, 9 are young and inexperienced.
I want to say something about Muriel before we move forward, and I don't know if John is gonna say something.
I
too
want to
about
ask
Muriel.
Bill first of all. Is he joking when he's like Muriel played strong? Because I don't.
Yeah,
think he did.
I don't know
And
if
then he
it's
said
that
after that in the
sarcastic.
midfield. I think he's joking.
I don't know. But
Well,
let me say
was
that
playing, he was trying to create plays.
I was.
I
Mhm.
know. And Paula, you tell what
No,
you're gonna say. 'Cause I think you're
Muriel
gonna say
was
the same thing as me.
revived when Ojeda came in to the game.
Well, also Duncan, he plays better with the two up top with someone next to him. Like I feel like on his own, Muriel has not got the guys near enough to him to do what he wants to do.
It's Daniel Phillips. I feel like our squad thrives in the underdog dark horse mindset. They seem to embrace all we have is each other mentality. That's evidence of good player coaching. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little early to just throw the season away and just say, I think, I agree with him that we are the underdogs and that's probably better off for us. But I also do agree with a lot of people that say that the team has no bite. And I think as professional soccer players, especially Facu, that has the number 10 in the back, he should be that vocal leader. And I'm gonna tell you, Galese, for example, has never been the leader, and not even in country. He's never been that vocal guy. There
I
was
saw
always
some people questioning Jansen's leadership as well, which I think is a little harsh this early.
Oh,
That's
a little
hard. That's hard.
It's harsh. It's harsh. It's harsh. I feel like that's harsh because he's been super consistent, and I feel
He's
it's
been
just
our best defender outside of
correct.
Bracalo when he's been
I
playing.
I
just
was
don't-
gonna
I
say
just-
that.
I wonder what Antonio. I can't. I just. And I know this is gonna sound crazy. I just can't fathom or agree that after losing Antonio Carlos, we're in this terrible shape defensively.
I don't. He wasn't playing that
figured-
much last
Right.
year.
I mean, if you see Brecalo, right? He looks. He's in my opinion, better center back.
Being
He
able
is.
to play Brecalo every week because we don't like in the MLS, it will be him
He will
and
be solid.
Jansen and Dagger Dan.
We have to give other
You start
players
to
a
build up a
chance
solid
too.
back four that play all the time together. The defense will improve. Pedro hopefully sorts it out. It's just been a lot at the beginning of the season, and the defense has slipped, but we'll get it back. I'm not worried about that.
Correct. I agree with you.
Are you
John.
not panicking?
Could you, Luis, put the Bill comment up there? He says, I think Muriel needs to slide back to the 10. This is something I is really interesting because I thought about this as well. Basically, like, because he wants to come so deep and play that, and he likes to do it. So not necessarily that I'd play him in the 10, but more that we play a 4-4-2, and that he plays almost like the false 9. I think we saw that a lot in the Tigres game, dropping a little bit deeper, and Duncan goes ahead in front of him. What do you think, Luis, about us potentially playing that 4-4-2 going forward with those two guys starting?
Right. I mean, he was dropping deeper because he wanted to generate attacking plays.
So many people said that. They're like, he has no choice because there's nobody
he
else
did
playing
not-
the mid.
But he did not drop deeper with conviction. What I'm trying to say
it
is,
wasn't great.
when Gorrarian had the ball, I didn't see him running behind Gorrarian to get the ball. I see him like, kind of looking back, saying, "Oh, I'm a striker, dude. I'm like, bro,
was jogging.
I'm not gonna go get the ball. I have to stay around here, man. I'm just gonna go ahead and help you out for a little bit, just to create a play. But hey, don't ask me to mark anybody." So his nature as a striker, yes, it's not like, for example, what Duncan does, because Duncan was bred differently.
He wants to connect. He wants to link up.
Correct, because Duncan is more of like, I'm a rookie. I'm trying to prove something.
Duncan's like a pressing forward.
Muriel is everyone should make me in the attacking third, should give me balls. Right, so it's a different type of mindset there, and so I think him going deep is because he's trying to find space and break the deadlock for the rival's back line, so he's able to generate something and he gets an assist at least. But he's not going to run back like maybe Dagordan does, that you saw him in the mid, you saw him on the right side, you saw him in the back, like in trying to pressure some of the Tigres players. You're not going to see him do that. We've seen Duncan do it. We've seen some of the other players, but not him.
Paulo, what's your thoughts on a potential 4-4-2 with Duncan and Muriel kind of playing together? Do you think they can develop a partnership?
They can develop we saw a little bit of that formation against Minnesota, and then a little bit in Tigres, like the last 20 minutes.
We've seen it.
No, happening. 10 minutes. Yeah, I can see. And if the 4-3-2-1 is not working, let's change that up. Let's go to 4-4-2. So I believe that
Cesar, it makes sense to
have 4-4-2.
Yeah, like, I don't know though. You still Ojeda. If you're trying to get Ojeda, Angulo, and Facu on the field, 4-4-2 is hard. Like, what are you gonna? We still need two actual central mid DM kind of players in the middle of the park. So you're kind of down to two wingers. You're out of a 10. I don't know. Luis, what would you do if we did go start Muriel and Duncan going forward? Would you keep Facu on the right and Angulo on the left, or would you potentially drop one of those guys for Ojeda?
Well, I mean, right now, I wouldn't be ready to drop Facu or Angulo at the moment. Now, one thing is, I see Ojeda with more options than Angulo, but Angulo has more of he's faster and better on the 1v1, and we've seen that. He's not a finisher though, but when he scores goals, they're beautiful goals. I feel Ojeda will be thriving in the system of 4-2-3-1, or even as a 4-3-3. Maybe he could be reconverted into an 8, and see if maybe he could play that role that maybe Mauricio tried to play, last season.
I could see that. Like, go to the 4-3-3. I would like that, and put Ojeda next to, I don't know, Felipe or something.
Ooh, Felipe. I'm just kidding.
We don't have a lot of choices right now.
I got PTSD.
This is why 4-4-2 makes sense, because you can then play two strikers and lose a mid. Let's read Jeffrey O's comment here.
OC subs, Tigre subs shows the massive gap of player quality. I'm afraid I'm losing interest in the club at the moment. Well, I mean, you're a fan of the result. So when you're a fan of the result, Orlando's not doing great, then it's obviously understandable that you're losing interest in the club. But once they started winning, I'm sure all the interest will be back. So it's okay, that's the way people are sometimes. I'm not trying to criticize that. I'm just saying, it is sometimes that way. It happens in my own home countries as well. And I do agree that there's a whole massive gap of player quality, and you know why? They don't have player restrictions.
Yeah, that's completely on MLS.
That's
And the
How
fact that we
many?
cannot have like they're bringing Diego Lainez on in the 60th minute, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Come on.
They don't
Hey, Connor's here. Hey, Connor, how you
have. Hey,
doing?
Connor, how are you, my friend?
Can we hear you?
Sorry, hold on.
Oh,
I
you're
have
good.
no
There he
audio on
is.
my end.
It's okay. We're
Hopefully my
live.
sound's coming
So-
through okay.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. So what I wanted to say was, how can other teams compete against Inter Miami? What they're doing? Take away the restrictions. Take away the restrictions, or maneuver the restrictions, and so benefits the league, and also buy USL. You buy USL. You buy all the USL teams, and you create promotion relegation.
I mean, that's the dream.
And
That's
then
the
you
big-
go ahead
big
and
picture
change your
dream.
schedule like everybody else in the world, and you don't care about competing with NFL, NBA. Like that's the way you gotta do. You gotta, in a way, and you cannot too overly Americanize soccer.
I think that's the growing pains of MLS that we see, that they're trying to do it like some of the American leagues of other sports, obviously because a lot of the owners are from there, and then that kind of goes against what we know from other countries and soccer culture, and the two are kind of clashing, and that's how you end up with things like MLS pulling us out of the Open Cup. But anyway,
That's
we won't go
ridiculous.
deep into that. We won't go down that rabbit hole. We are here now with Connor to talk about Atlanta United Sunday game. We're going over to one of our least favorite places to go, the AstroTurf of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Connor, I'm gonna dig at your stadium having turf for sure. It's gonna happen. Welcome, Connor. How are you? Joining us from the designated players. Introduce yourself, buddy.
Yes, thank you. Hopefully my sound's coming through okay.
We
A
can
little
hear
bit
you.
Okay, good. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to talk about Atlanta, as much as I'm sure you all are very much not excited to talk about Atlanta. But thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here, and honestly, we cover teams all across the league. So I have a little bit of background in Orlando. I know we spoke with John on our little series, so excited to hopefully share what knowledge I have from Atlanta.
Yeah, we already had your counterpart, Andrew, come on and talk to us preview where we were very optimistic. And now, everything else is fallen down. So basically for us, we're not looking forward probably to this game as much as maybe we would have if we started the season a little better, having to play some of our rivals so soon. And you guys obviously starting the season well. Go ahead, Connor, and tell us first about the changes that Atlanta have made this offseason.
Sure. So Atlanta's been pretty busy in the offseason. There's a couple of faces that they've brought back, like Sean De Silva and Quentin Westberg, as well as a bunch of new faces as well, such as Josh Cohen and Net coming over from Israel, Derek Williams coming over from DC United, bringing over some MLS experience at the center back spot. Then Dax McCarty, an MLS legend, coming over to help solidify the midfield a bit more. And then while talking about the midfield, might as well mention the big time midfielder that we brought in from Poland, Bartosz Slisz. And I probably butchered that pronunciation, so I apologize to any Polish fans listening. But the last move that Atlanta made was for Stian Gregerson, our Miles Robinson replacement, although you can only replace Miles Robinson so much.
Yeah, I mean, Schlitz to me seems like am I saying his name correctly? Schlitz seems like the guy um, who, for that midfield, you've been missing in the D mid to play next to Mayomba there. Talk to us, Connor, a little bit about who we should look out for this season from this squad. Perhaps, not Giakoumakis. We all know about him. Not Thiago Malder. Give us somebody that is on the fringes that you think is going to have like a breakout year.
Sure. So I've got one player that I think is a little bit too early to say as like a one to keep an eye on, at least for the Atlanta Orlando matchup. That being Nick Firmino. I think he's got a big future for Atlanta. Could be the guy to slide in once Almada most likely leaves in the summer window. But for the game against Orlando, I think the person I would highlight would be Jean de Silva. He was a guy that came over, I believe, from the third division in France. And I totally took the bait and I had low expectations for him from that. And I was like, like third division of France, like that felt a little like below kind of what I was used to with the team who's bringing in like Almada, Almiron, Barco. But he's been super impressive. He's very, very technically gifted. He's got a lot of flair. He's fun to watch. And I think that part of his game is really helpful for us because then it takes a bit of the attention off of Almada and Giakoumakis. So maybe helps to free them up a little bit more in the game if he can be dangerous. So I think he'll be one to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we know full well about the power of Almada and everything. Do you feel like, I didn't put this question in there, so I'm gonna throw one at you. Do you feel like he's still gonna be here by the end of the year?
No way. I didn't think he'd be here at the start of this season, if I'm being honest. I thought he was gone for sure.
I
But
think summer, you guys are just definitely gonna lose him.
yeah, I think that's when the European teams will be more willing to spend money, and I think someone's going to give them an offer too good. And I think at that point, Almada will force Atlanta's hand. I think he's been good to be patient so far, but I think by the summer he's definitely pushing for a move out.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to happen for him with the big teams. He needs a big sort of 5 team to come in and drop real money on that guy. Let's talk a little bit about the predicted lineup. Actually, sorry. First, let's talk about your season so far and how you've been doing. You guys have started pretty well. You haven't had Champions League to deal with like we have. So talk to us about your results and sort of your tactics that you've seen. Has there been much change from last year?
I think it's been pretty steady. I think that the lineup seems to be pretty similar. I'd say for the past few years, even through a few managers, they really like to go with the 4-2-3-1. I know we'll probably talk a little bit more about the lineup itself later on, but that seems to be the way that they're going to go this season. I think the way they built the roster, that makes the most sense for them. I think they've done well to replace the spots that I think had holes last year. So losing Miles Robinson and being able to replace him well. And then that other CDM spot with Moyumba, I think was definitely a big hole. Really haven't been able to replace that spot fully since Nagby left. And I think Schlich is probably like the best that we can the best that we have to kind of fill that role. So I think they've built the roster well for the way that they're intending to play this season.
Yeah, I mean it'll centers around Almada, the 4-2-3-1. When you got a 10 like that, you gotta use him. Let's talk a little bit about the lineup. Do you sort of see the same thing that we saw against the Revolution? I mean, if it ain't broke, why change it?
Yeah, I think as long as somebody's not injured or has like some other reason that they can't make the game, I would assume it's going to be the same lineup against that they played against New England. I believe they played the same lineup against Columbus as well in the first game of the season. So far, it's looked good. I know, obviously playing away at Columbus was going to be tough no matter what. So hard to really judge them too harshly on that loss. But for them to come back around after a week off and fire off against the Revs, I think showed that the lineup is strong enough to give it another go against Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for me. Paula, do you want to run us through what you might think the Orlando City lineup will be? I'm going to pull up the one we had against Tigres, and
Yeah, pull it up.
Go through some changes. If there's going to be any, I don't know. We'll have to see. We are also potentially going to be out a few guys, so that is risky. We've got international break coming up.
If it's not CONCACAF, it's international duty.
Yeah, exactly. If it's not, and also like Champions League, we like Wilder, for example. Cartagena is out with a red card for MLS, so that's a problem. Paula, what do you think? Galese will still be here. You still want to start? I mean, he's been playing so badly that we. Do you drop the guy? I think it would harsh. I said it on Twitter that we should drop him.
No,
So frustrated.
We should kept him there. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Let's keep Galese as our goalkeeper.
Okay, I'll give him one more game, but if he's terrible again, then I don't know what to do.
I will keep Dagger there.
Yep.
Brekalo is he got called up for the Slovenian international team, so he might be not
that
here.
game is on the 19th, and we play on the 17th. So surely he's not going to be available. I think.
I
don't
know.
I believe that's what it is. The 19th.
Okay, let's put it tentative, but I don't think
it's
he's
question mark on whether he's going to be gone yet or not.
If not, our boy Schlegel in that position.
Connor, you really want to see that, I'm sure.
As long as he's not in goal, I'll feel good about it.
He's better at goal than he is a center back at the moment.
Exactly. We want a lot of people was talking about that in Twitter, like, oh, put Schlegel should be back in the as goalkeeper, blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh my god,
we've lost a lot of confidence in our defense. I'm sure you can tell, Connor.
That's kind of the vibe I've gotten.
Yeah, Galese is not giving us confidence. If we've got to play Schlegel, that's even less confidence we got going in. I'd almost debate Salim or somebody else over Schlegel. Seriously.
I mean, Pareja's gonna go for Schlegel, so Schlegel should be there if Brekalo is not there. Of course, our Capitan Jansen will be there, or more. He has been the most solid player for the entire 6 games that we have played combined with CONCACAF.
He's been everywhere, scrambling a lot of the time. Poor guy.
Mm-hmm. So, yep, keep them there. I don't know if I want to see Rafa Santos in that place.
I think Kyle Smith probably at left back.
Let's put Kyle Smith.
And then your 2 D mids. You don't have Wilder. You don't have Cesar. Assuming we're going with a 4-2-3-1, I think Felipe has to be one of them.
Yep.
And then I think probably Gio, unless you want to play Nico back there, which I don't.
No, I don't want to play. I don't want to play Nico, but I think in Pareja's mind, he's gonna play in that position.
We are looking thin in the mid for this game.
Mm-hmm. So there you go, Connor. Do you want to see our weaknesses? Is the midfield right now?
The defensive midfield
midfield is not working.
Would you put Ojeda then in the 10 like we talked about?
Yeah, full, like 100% Ojeda in the 10, and then in the wing, Facu and Angulo in the other side.
Muriel or Duncan up front?
This is tough, man. I will go with Duncan Maguire.
Honestly, I think Duncan is a better option for this game.
He's going to be a better option for this game.
Yeah, I think also there's a higher risk of Muriel injuring himself on Connor's terrible field.
It's not my field.
I blame you personally, Connor, for your turf field over there. Seriously though, we gotta try and get through this one without some injuries, because we've had a tendency of coming to your house and picking up injuries on that field. We do not play well on turf. It hurts.
How can you do it, Connor, to see your team playing on a turf and not being concerned of who's gonna be injured? Like every time that I see Orlando City playing turf, I'm like, oh my god, I don't want anybody injured. So I don't know how you can do it, to be honest.
If you saw Atlanta last year at all, they were decimated. Like everybody got injured at some point, and I'm sure the turf. I know the turf at least was a Brad Guzan victim, but there had to have been probably more. If it wasn't
More.
directly, it was probably at least indirectly.
That's
It's
gotta suck.
crazy. So we will be like this. I will be like this on Sunday, watching the game, like praying. No, don't be injured.
Like you guys have
please."
a way better stadium than us in every single way, apart from the fact that it's turf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
You're like, I can agree with that. I'm on board. That's cool. Connor, your thoughts on the this is an interesting one, the Orlando versus Atlanta rivalry. Obviously we're not the best of friends, these two clubs. Honestly, we do not like each other at all. I'm sure you've heard the chant that we like to chant every time you guys come to town. It's a 4-letter word and then your guys' name. And do you guys have a similar chat over there? Like, what's it like when you're in the Atlanta when we come to town? Is it just pure hatred?
I personally, I love it. I mean, so when Atlanta
We
first
love it.
joined, when Atlanta first joined the league, it was, I think, kind of like the rivalry started just because it was like the two teams were the two that were closest to one another. But I really do feel like the fans really on both sides were fully invested in it. And that kind of helped build the rivalry to the point where now that even though Orlando has a more local rival in Miami, I still feel like Orlando, for me personally at least, is our biggest rival. It's the most fun matchup. It's always super exciting. I think maybe that's a little bit of bias because as you pulled up on here, Atlanta's had a little bit of a better track record in the head-to-head, but I do have a lot of fun. Like Orlando is probably the one team in the league where I genuinely see them as a rival, and it's a lot of fun to play them. And when we lose to Orlando or we're playing poorly against Orlando, it genuinely frustrates me. The only other one for me is just Red Bull, but that's just because Andrew's a Red Bull fan, so that's like a personal one for me.
That's self-inflicted.
Yeah,
Your
exactly.
friendship with Andrew. That's great.
Yeah.
It's not like those first few years of the Orlando Atlanta rivalry. You guys just beat up on us. It was horrible, honestly, to watch you just enter the league and immediately win. That just really, I can say the word pissed us off, but it really did. So like Miami is our new hatred, but you were our original hatred for sure. So Paula, your thoughts on Atlanta?
I still hate them. Not you, Connor. Just the team. like
it's good rivalry. It's a good hatred rivalry.
Exactly. It's not like now it feels different. Miami's a different feeling against Atlanta. Like Atlanta is the OG derby for me. At least for me. I still remember the billboard in the I-4, like driving to my work, and I'm like, what the heck is that? So for me, I still hate
like
Atlanta.
Shots fired straight from the beginning with that.
And I have a lot of coworkers that are Atlanta fans, and I hope on Monday I don't get personal team messages, haha, we won, or blah blah blah, or something. So they were waiting for me to go on Sunday, but I couldn't. So there will be probably a lot of pictures sending via text. So I still hate Atlanta, to be honest. Even though that Joseph Martinez is not there, I still hate him too. But I prefer playing against Atlanta than Miami. Like I don't know. I like this rivalry better. It's more organically.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Florida rivalry is there, and we dislike Miami for several reasons, but you guys we dislike first, as I said. So you're welcome, Connor. You're our first hatred. This section, Connor is going to surprise us with a wild card question. So Connor, take it away.
Yes, nothing too crazy, and I apologize if it's something you've already discussed before, but one thing I'm curious about, and I guess it's a little bit of a two-part question. If you were to have Muriel and Maguire on the field at the same time, what formation would you play and where would you play the two of them?
Paola, go.
Yeah. I'm laughing because we kind of discussed that before you came in. So
Ah,
when we were debating, no, but I'm gonna answer it.
But really,
That's
it's a
why
great question because it's
it's a
something that
great
we are
question.
really considering.
And we're curious too because we were talking about we have seen already in the couple of two last games that Maguire and Muriel are in the front, like both are forward. It's a 4-4-2 formation change for the last like 20 minutes of the game or 30 minutes of the game. But the debate that we were having is, would you put Muriel as a 10 and put Ojeda as a forward? I think there's a little bit of connectivity issues still because Muriel is still new in the team and he's starting to get to know them and how they play, and he needs to that build that chemistry, and then we can see the outcome. It's a threat because we saw that in the Minnesota game on Saturday. The second goal that Orlando scored, I think it was Muriel. It was not Ojeda, John. I think I got that wrong. Muriel uh, got an assist on that second goal
It might have
for
been,
Maguire. Yeah. Now that I remember, it was Muriel who was next to him, and I think if they build up that chemistry, we can see that going forward more often than we would think. So I will put them two as forwards, those in the top, and then I think Pareja likes them to switch positions, like they don't get stagnant in that same position the entire game. So I will say that they will start as a forward and then they will figure it out in the field how can they execute goals. But it's a threat. It's a good one. Like we haven't had that offensive mindset this season. So let's see if it works. I don't know if we're gonna see it on Sunday. What do you think, John? Do you agree? Disagree?
Yeah.
It's hard.
We don't have our like what we call a double pivot. Like our two D mids are not doing what they should be doing for us or were last year. Cesar is out injured probably for a long time. Wilder is red carded anyway for this one. So we're looking at, we can't really if we play our 4-2-3-1, you've got to put two guys in there that are just doesn't we haven't been functioning the same way. So there is an opportunity to change everything and come out with a 4-4-2 all the time. Whether we do that or not, I don't know. I think Oscar's more kind of like you said, you don't see a lot of change in your formation, Connor. I don't think Oscar wants to get away from the 4-2-3-1. I think more likely we're going to see Luis Muriel continue to play there on his own up top. But I think it's a big issue at the moment because he's coming deep a lot, like to collect the ball. He's playing like a deeper role, trying to connect the ball and play up the field, and then that means that we have nobody kind of pushing the front line because he's coming so deep. With him and Duncan, maybe it could work, but they need time. I agree with Paula. They need time to develop that relationship, and right now Muriel has not started as fast as we would have hoped. So if anything, I'm just trying to see like how do we fit him into this squad at all? Like what do we do with this guy? Because he's got talent, but he's just right now not seeming to gel with our play style.
And against Tigres, he looked cooked, Connor. Like he was like in the first 45 minutes, he was like he looked like dead, like running, like trying to breathe in the
he
in
looks
the
a lot
field.
slower than I'd hoped coming from middle of the Italian season. I would say he looks off the pace.
That's surprising.
The
I really
jet lag.
thought I thought he was
Kidding.
going to be when you guys originally got him. I was like, oh no, like that's. I imagine it was.
Connor. So did we.
I imagine the intention was he was going to be the Duncan replacement when he was going to go to Blackburn, and then once Duncan was staying too, and they still brought him in, I was like, oh no, that's not good. That's bad for the rest of us. And I'm sure he'll still, he's uber talented. I'm sure it will just take a little bit of time to gel, or maybe that's just the optimistic in me because and I don't know if I'm allowed. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we can't use him like your 9. Like we can't play him like Giakoumakis. It's not gonna work like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know if there's many strikers in the league that can play like Giakoumakis. he's very unique. He's so much fun to watch, though. But I don't know if I'm allowed to admit it as an Atlanta fan, but my pick for Supporter Shield this year was Orlando. So as much as I don't want you to figure it out this weekend, if you can maybe start to figure out that pairing after this weekend, that would be helpful for my prediction.
Yeah, we just got to figure it out sooner than last year. I think that's our big concern.
Yeah, like
is
last year took us a
ahead.
little bit more time. And what surprised me is that we have technically the same squad, just one or two that are new, one or two left. So I'm like, what the heck just happened with this team? Like, do they have to go back to Mexico like in the preseason and recoup themselves or something? Like, I don't know. Like the bad juju needs to get out. But yeah, everybody had high expectations, Connor, and right now a lot of Orlando fans are pressing the panic button, even though that we just played only 3 games in the league. So I think that we'll figure it out.
If we still look bad a month from now, then I'll be like, okay, something.
Okay, something needs to.
You know, I think we got
change.
we Champions League was killing us. Our backups or B squad was not doing well in MLS when we were playing our A squad in Champions League. Now that's over. We can play our hopefully first 11, get some consistency week in, week out, like you guys have been starting the season. And a month from now, I think we'll be, up there back where we should be.
Yeah, you just blame it on the CCL curse. Every year, there's one team from MLS that should be way better than they actually are. I think 2 years ago it was Seattle. Granted, they went on to win CCL, so it was definitely worth it. And then I think last year Philly was awful to start the season. They're definitely not where they were at that point. So I'm sure Orlando will be able to turn it around.
Nobody does well both at the same time as an MLS club. We know that. So we're just hoping now that things will turn around for us in MLS, that we can, as they say, put all of our eggs in one basket until later in the year. Connor, go ahead and promote your podcast. Let everybody know where they can find your MLS thoughts, because that's what you're mostly talking about, not just Atlanta.
Sure. Yeah. So on Twitter, we're at the DP Pod 1. If you look us up on any of the podcast sites, we are the Designated Players. You'll be able to find our podcast there. We have YouTube as well. On YouTube, we post a little bit of extra content. We do some what we call Fun Game Fridays. We do some trivias, tic-tac-toes, other types of games just to test our MLS ball knowledge. We talk about the U.S. men's national team too as well when that comes around and is relevant. And right now we're kind of splitting our time between just talking about current events in MLS, and then hopefully soon we will be jumping back onto our MLS history series that we are doing as well. So if you like any of that stuff, definitely come check us out.
For sure. I encourage everybody to give them a listen. If you're someone who needs to learn more about, the wider league and what's going on, these guys have got some great content and some easily listening for you all. So thank you, Connor. We're going to let you go, buddy, before we get into our final comments and sign off ourselves. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate your Atlanta insights and hope you guys lose on Sunday.
Thank you so much for
Connor.
having me on. Yeah, thank you.
Buddy.
See ya.
Bye. All righty. Paula, we're going to have one more comment here from Nyaki. He said, no one likes Miami, which is always good. Always good to say.
That's always good.
Yeah. Do you have any sort of final thoughts before we sign off here?
What should I say? So I'm not gonna say any predictions or anything. For the Sunday game, to be honest, I'm a little afraid. And it's because of our midfield is not looking good. I think the boys, with that conversation that they had in the locker room, is gonna help them, push themselves on Sunday, even though the mid is not looking good. They're gonna find a way because they know they have the talent. They know they can execute. It's just one missing piece that they need to get together and resolve themselves. It's not only on Oscar Pareja, it's also on the team. Just to say that.
I agree.
You want to see that? Do you want to read that comment right there?
Yeah. Herman says, I'm blaming it on Honor Thy History. Herman thinks we should never have celebrated 10 years. That's what's causing our downfall. That's been like the best part of the season so far.
Yeah.
Don't throw that away, Hernan. Thank you to everybody who joined us live and left us comments. We appreciate you. Go ahead and subscribe on YouTube if you're not already. Like the video, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new content. Thanks to all of you who are listening later. If you're listening on Apple Music or Spotify or any of the other podcast sites, give us a follow, 5-star rating, please. Help us, boost that algorithm. You can follow us on social media. We are at LPO_podcast on X, on Instagram, and on TikTok. And on Facebook, we are just Loud and Proud Orlando. Paula, tell us about Tiro de Esquina and where they can find some Spanish content.
Yes, Spanish content. Go to Tiro de Esquina podcast. We already recorded and upload our latest episode 38. We talk about Miami, Minnesota, Tigres, all that fun stuff. So go follow us on social media as well as Tiro de Esquina podcast.
Thank you for everybody who's joining us tonight. And we look forward to watching a game on Sunday. We'll be back on Monday for another City Pod. But until then, Vamos Orlando.
Orlando.